right, hello everyone. My name is Kelsey and I am an educator here at the Greensboro Science Center. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a program that we are involved with called ecoExplore. So I'm going to take you through a program that I put together to kind of go through what the program is. It's not a program that we started here at the Science Center, but we are a hub, a unit for them. So we're going to go through, talk a little bit about what the program is, and then talk a little bit about some fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we are going to be able to take a look at this program. All right. There we go. All right. So with ecoExplore, it is right now we are in our herpetology season, and we'll get into that here momentarily. So with ecoExplore, you might be thinking, what is ecoExplore? So it's an initiative-based citizen science program. Citizen science programs are programs that help scientists gather data, and people, just anybody, any citizen are the people that are helping them do that. So by joining this program, you can actually help scientists gather data. This is for children that are grades K through 8. It was developed by the North Carolina Arboretum, so that is out in Asheville, and we are a hub for this region. So I will be the point person for this northern Piedmont region. Now, through this program, you get to help scientists, which is awesome. It's also a great way to get outdoors, which is such a great thing right now. Being outdoors is a great place to be. And then you can also earn badges and prizes. So we're going to get into that. All right, there we go. So how does this work? So you simply go outside, you see what you can find in nature. So these are going to be all things that are live organisms. So you might see something pretty like a rainbow or a rock, but those aren't really the things we're looking for. It's more animals and plants and insects and things like that. So living organisms. You would then take a picture of them, whatever you find, and then you'd share it with your ecoExplore account. So you do have to sign up. It is free, and it will help you through that process. So you would just go to the website and sign up, and you would share it through those. And then we go back in and we look at your observations and we give points and leave comments. So we are actually looking at everything. All right, so I said something about earning badges. So it is kind of like a Cub Scout kind of thing. So you can earn badges. Over here, these field season badges are going to be the main 4 badges. Now, the thing about these badges is they are time sensitive, meaning you only have a certain window to do those badges. So right now we are in our ecoExplore, our herpetology season. So that runs from the beginning of June through the end of August. So you'd have to earn that badge, you have to do the requirements between that time. And that's the same for those 4 badges. There are 3 months out of the year for each badge. Now, these bonus badges over here, you can earn over any span of time. So if it takes you a year and a half to get to get the requirements for that snake badge, it can take you a year and a half. It doesn't matter. So those can take as long as they need to, and we're adding more badges. The duck badge is new, and we're looking to add new badges all the time. All right, and here's some of everyone's favorite part, the prizes, right? So for every photo you share, you're going to earn points. And with those points, you'll be able to trade them in to earn fun prizes. So ranging from anywhere from something small that might be 15, 20 points up to an iPod Touch. That one's 1,000 points. So you do have to take some photos to get that one, but it is a lot of fun. Each photo can get you up to 5 points. So there are some various things that get you points for each photo. But generally, just for sharing a photo, you're going to get probably 2 points if it's not too blurry, right? So you can earn these prizes as well. And there are more as well as these. So it's pretty fun that you can earn so many cool things as well. All right, like I said, we are in herpetology season. I haven't really said what that means. Herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians. So some of my favorite things that we have running around outside. So reptiles are going to be cold-blooded vertebrates with dry, scaly skin. So that's things like lizards, snakes, turtles, crocodilians, and those things that you would see outside. Amphibians, on the other hand, they're also cold-blooded vertebrates, but most have wet skin. So they go through an aquatic larval stage. So you're going to think of things like frogs, toads, and definitely around here you're going to think of things like salamanders. All right. Now, we're going to start with reptiles. So reptiles, they breathe through their lungs just like we do. So they breathe very similarly, though some can hold their breath a lot longer than we can. Things like sea turtles. Some sea turtles can hold their breath 4 to 7 hours while they're resting. So they can hold their breath, some of them, very, very long times, but they do have lungs like we do. They're going to have dry skin and or some scales. Pretty much all of them have some scales and some skin mixed in. They are ectotherm, so that word cold-blooded that I used, meaning that they can't make their own body heat. So it's going to be animals that have to go out and bask in the sun to maintain their body heat. That's why you'll see them out in the sun a lot during the summer and not out in the winter, because they kind of do a hibernation type thing in the winter. They're going to move around with legs or their tail, and some slither, and they lay some leather eggs, some have more hard eggs, kind of like chicken eggs, or some do give live birth. So there are some snake species that lay eggs. There are other snake species that give live birth. It's dependent on the animal, like the species. It's not dependent on what type of animal it is. All right, so these are some native lizards. There are 12 species in North Carolina. So these are just a couple that you can find. Now, this first one over here, that slender glass lizard, I know that one looks a little weird. It is actually a lizard, but it doesn't have any legs. So not all lizards actually have legs. So you might think it might be a snake, but there are a few things that make it a little different. One of which being it has eyelids. Snakes do not have eyelids, lizards do. So if it has eyelids, it's going to be a lizard. So that is a lizard. The green anole there is more towards, not really up in your all's area. It's more south of Randolph and down. They're running around and by the coast, but they're a pretty cool little critter. Eastern fence lizards and 5-line skinks you can find all throughout the state, but there are 12 different species throughout the state. Here are some snake species, not everyone's favorite thing. I love them. There are 37 species and only 6 of those are venomous. So there are 31 non-venomous species. So there are a lot of snakes running around or slithering around, but not all of them are very harmful. The only one on the screen that I have that is harmful would be that copperhead. And any snake is going to look at you and think you're too big to eat. So a lot of times, unless they feel so threatened that they have to do something or you startle them, they're going to go the other direction. So unless you start picking on it or you accidentally step on it, it's probably not going to hurt you anyway. One of the really cool snakes on the screen is that eastern king snake, that black one with the white banding. Now, if it is called a king snake, that is because, let me admit, hello, those of you just joining us, we're talking a little bit about snakes. So that eastern king snake, if it is called a king snake, that means it likes to eat other snakes. So one of the eastern king snake's favorite foods is venomous snakes, so those harmful snakes. they're actually immune to the venom, so they can't get sick from that venom. So they really enjoy eating those guys. All right. All right, so some turtles. So there are some turtles that are found more off the coast, right? Like our sea turtles, like that loggerhead, but they would come up onto the beach to nest. But we also have, there are 20 species that can be found around North Carolina. Now there are things that are called turtles and terrapins, like our diamondback terrapin and tortoises. There is a little bit of a difference. Mostly it's kind of regional, depending on who you talk to, they're going to change the name, but generally, turtles live most of their life in the water, tortoises spend most of their life on land, and terrapins are somewhere in the middle where they like to be on both land and water and kind of split their time. So it's particularly those ones that are out swimming in the ocean, those are going to be turtles, whereas things that aren't so on land or aren't so in the water are going to be tortoises. And then some of those turtles actually have a weird kind of shell, like that soft shell. They don't have scales like the traditional shell we kind of think of. It's more of a skin. So they're a pretty cool species as well. All right, native crocodilians, we only have the one. So we have American alligators, right? And they are pretty cool, but they can be a little scary and big. They do have very powerful jaws. But again, if you aren't really in those areas or jumping around near them, they aren't that dangerous. Oops, went too far. All right. So amphibians. So some of the amphibians do breathe through their lungs like we do, but some of them breathe a little differently. So some of them do breathe through gills, kind of like a fish, or some can actually breathe through their skin. So it helps them to be able to stay underwater. They take in oxygen through their skin. They have skin only, so amphibians don't really have scales, and that can be wet or dry. Most of the time, it's pretty wet. They're also ectotherms or cold-blooded. They move around with tails when they're young and usually legs as an adult. So when these guys hatch out of an egg, and they have more jelly-like clear eggs that are weird and really different from chicken eggs, they're going to go through metamorphosis. So they're going to have some life changes. So it's like frogs and tadpoles. They start out as that tadpole and grow into their adult form. So they go through metamorphosis to get to their adult form. All right, some native frogs and toads. Again, frogs and toads very similar. Frogs are more on land, more terrestrial. Toads are more on land and terrestrial. Frogs kind of like more water, moist environments. So that's the general difference there. There are 28 species in North Carolina. So some of these you might have seen in your own backyard. All right, and salamanders, right? We have a ton of salamanders in North Carolina. There are more salamanders in North Carolina and Tennessee and those mountain areas than anywhere else on the planet. So salamanders are a pretty big deal around here. There are 60 species in North Carolina alone. So that is a ton. They go through they have a couple different names. That eastern hellbender is going to be one of the largest species, definitely the largest in North Carolina, but it's also just can get very large for salamanders. And that second one that's called a lesser siren, it's kind of a weird one. Sirens are only found in North America, and you'll probably never see one. They aren't very easy to find, and they get that name because they kind of scream like a siren when they're scared. And then as well as those newts and those salamanders that we think of a little bit more than the other two. I know those slimy salamanders are pretty common around here. We have some just right outside the science center that we can go find down by our parking lot. So salamanders, super common in North Carolina. All right, so just for fun, I've added kind of the state animals. So our state frog is the pine barrens tree frog. Our state reptile is the eastern box turtle, so a very common turtle that you guys have probably seen. And our state salamander is the marbled salamander. So we have a lot of those guys around as well. Now, with amphibians, I'm going to go back. So with those salamanders, something about these guys is they can actually take in things through their skin, kind of like when you rub some lotion or suntan lotion on yourself and it kind of gets into your skin. These guys absorb a lot of things through their skin. In general, salamanders, frogs, all those amphibians do. So having very clean and having very clean air and water is very, very important to these guys. They aren't going to be able to thrive anywhere that is kind of gross and full of different pollutants. So if you have any water around where you live, make sure we're trying to keep that pretty clean so these animals have a place to lay their eggs and grow to adulthood, because that pollution is definitely pretty detrimental to these guys. All right. So I have the website right here, the ecoExplore.net. So you can get more information there, learn how to sign up. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this screen and see if anybody has any questions. I think I might still be the only one here. I don't know if we have somebody new. All right. And you can send those to me in the chat if you have a question as well. But I do have some other things that I wanted to show you guys today and talk a little bit about. So the first thing I have here might look pretty familiar, but it looks a little weird, right? This is an eastern box turtle shell. So you can see right here, that's what you generally see. It looks very normal there. But this part here looks kind of weird. So turtle shells are actually made of bone, just like we have in our bodies. Their shells are made of bone and covered in scales called scutes. So there's about 59 or 59 to 61 different bones to this shell. And the top here is called a carapace. So this is a nice box turtle shell. Now I want you guys to think for a minute. Do you think a turtle could feel you if you touched it? Kind of like when you touch a fingernail and poke a fingernail. Can you feel that? Do you think a turtle can feel you when you touch its shell? The answer is that they actually can. So if you take a look right here, and I'll get a little closer there, that is this turtle's spine. So their spine is connected to their shell. So if you're ever watching TV or a cartoon and you see that turtle leave its shell, they can't actually do that. They are attached to their shell just like we are attached to our skin. So their backbone is attached right on in there. So they can feel you when you touch them. And they actually do some turtles, especially the ones in captivity like the ones we have here, like scratches and rubs on their shell. It feels really good. So for some of them, it's preference, right? So I have that turtle shell. I also have one of my favorite things that we have here at the Science Center, and I usually like to bring it out when I'm talking about herps, talking about those snakes. Let me move right down here. All right, there we go. So I have a couple of little snake skulls here. So this is from a rat snake, like a black rat snake that we would find around here. And you can see those tiny little teeth in that jaw. Now if you look back there towards the back, their jaws are pretty elastic, so they can open their jaw pretty wide. Down here, you'll notice this one looks a little different. This one is a copperhead skull. So you can see right there, those are those fangs. So that part of the snake that we don't like so much, because that is where that venom, those venom glands are. So you can see those nice big fangs. And with snakes, their teeth do face kind of backwards. because that's what helps pull that food down their throat, because they do eat all of their food whole. All right. So I have one more thing that I can show you guys today. I just have to get it out. All right. So this is my buddy Pebbles. Pebbles is a hognose snake. So there are some species of hognose here in North Carolina. You'll notice they do have, it's kind of hard to tell on the screen, but they do have that little pointy nose. He's so very, or she's so very cute. That little pointy nose, that's where they get their name, the hognose. And they will use that to dig. One of the cool things about the snake is they can actually flatten out their head to kind of look like a cobra. And that is just to deter or scare away things that might want to eat one of these snakes. So they can kind of flatten out their head. Now you'll notice that the belly there, they have these longer scales on that belly. Those are called scutes. That's what helps them to climb. And these guys have a black belly, as well as a very black tongue. And that is for another cool reason as well. These guys have a very cool adaptation that we would kind of refer to as playing possum, if you've ever heard that, because possums, what do? They play dead. These guys do that as well. So if they sense they are in danger, they will flop over on their back, stick out that tongue, both of which are black, which kind of indicate maybe you're sick or dead. And then they can also release this really stinky, stinky smell. So not only is this snake going to look dead, but it's going to smell dead. So anything that's going by thinking, oh, I might want to eat that, smells that and looks at it and goes, oh, never mind, it's dead. And then they can roll back over and head back along their way. So it's a very cool little species. I would say they don't get much bigger than this because this is about the size I usually see them, but our other one that we have is quite large. So this is about average for this species of snake. So you can see it's not a very big snake. You can see it, she's definitely looking to see if she's somewhere new because she's smelling a lot. So if you'll notice that tongue coming to check you guys out. So can you guys smell with your tongue? I've never thought about it, but humans, we cannot smell with our tongues. We use our noses, right? Snakes and a few other animals can actually use their tongues. So that's what she's doing right now. She is smelling the air and trying to figure out if there's anything delicious in here to eat. So they also have that forked tongue, right, where it goes, kind of splits down the middle. So that helps them to figure out which direction those smells are coming from. There you go, you'll be able to see that tongue now. So they'll be able to tell which direction that smell is coming from based upon how much scent particles they get on that tongue and on which side of their tongue. So they have a special organ in their mouth that we don't have. It's up in the roof of their mouth. It is called a Jacobson's organ. And it actually is what analyzes all of the particles that come, that they get on their tongue from the air. So it'll kind of take those particles and send that up to its brain and tell it what it's smelling. So they're pretty good at finding food because they can just smell for it. Yes, you're very good, snake. I know snakes aren't everybody's thing, but as you can see, unless you're doing something to it that it really doesn't like, or maybe if I smelled like a mouse, they aren't very dangerous. It's always best, when in doubt, unless you're trained, to leave them alone, but they aren't going to hurt you. Not unless you give them a reason to. Some snakes even really enjoy the time hanging out. Such a good snake. Yes, you're so good. All right. So I'm going to stick Pebbles back down in here. All right. So I know a lot of you will be watching this later after the recording. So if you, I have a question. Someone finds a snake and wants to take a picture, is there a safe distance to remain? Yes. So I would say always stay probably at least 6 feet away. So kind of social distance from your snakes, right? It's always better to kind of zoom in on those guys, especially if you aren't sure what species it is. But if you're outside of their striking distance, you'll be able to stay safe. Just don't, usually with snakes, they're going to turn around and go the other direction. Like I said, you're too big. That would be like us chasing down bears for the fun of it. We aren't going to do that because they're big and scary. We're big and scary to snakes. So generally they just leave you alone. But yeah, I would say probably kind of try to stay back 6 feet. If it's a very, very big snake, stay further back than that. But particularly if you don't know what species it is, it's always best to just kind of leave them alone, snap a picture, and then head on your way. But since a lot of you will be watching this after it's recorded, if you do want to send me any questions, I can take questions through our email, and that is just going to be ecoexplore@greensboroscience.org. So very simple, and I will be able to answer whatever questions you have. And if I can't, I can get someone who can. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send those my way. And definitely check out the website ecoexplore.net, and that's going to answer a lot of your questions. I didn't go too far into our badges, so I probably should. Those badges that I brought up, and I can share my screen again if I need to. It's fine. Those badges, actually, better idea. I will share it again, and I will show you the website. All right. We're going to go to ecoExplore. All right. So the website. So this is what it's going to look like when you first get on there. Here's where you're going to sign up. Here's a lot of the information about what is happening. So right now we are in herpetology season, but we're also talking about our Colors in Nature badge. And here's a list of different events that are coming up as well as some observations and our leaderboard. So those are the points that people have gotten over time. Now, if you come to badges, so you see the herpetology season, and it's going to tell you exactly how to get that badge. And we're kind of putting a different twist on it for a little while, since we're doing a lot of things virtually. So the challenges are a little different, but all of this is going to tell you exactly what you have to do. So this core herpetology challenge is something you're going to have to do, as well as some of the other challenges. And that's how you earn those badges. And it's the same through, if you click on any of them, it's going to give you the information for each badge and what you have to do to earn that badge. Nothing too taxing. It's all pretty fun. It's all designed just to get you out into nature, get you out learning more about North Carolina species and native species. I know a lot of our kids have had a lot of fun researching the things that they find, and they find some really, really cool things. And like I said, now is the best time to be out in nature, staying away from, staying kind of away from people. So nature's a great place to be right now. So if you guys do have any questions, feel free to shoot them my way, and I will answer those. If Diane doesn't have any other questions, I can go ahead and stop for today, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Like I said, my name is Kelsey. We're here at the Greensboro Science Center. If you have time, we are open. Not all of our areas, but if you want to have some time, need to get out of the house, our aquarium and zoo areas are definitely going to be open. So come see us. We're excited to see everyone back. And thank you for joining me.